Lions attacked a rhino trapped in a pit. You won't believe who came to the rescue. A young rhinoceros accidentally fell into a pit and could not get out of it. A pride of lions pounced on the easy prey, and it seemed that the rhinoceros had only minutes left to live when a herd of elephants appeared on the horizon. In Africa's Kruger National Park, a large herd of rhinos roamed the expansive plains, peacefully grazing in the warm sun and feasting on the lush grass. Life was tranquil for the herd, but one day, a young and curious rhinoceros, driven by a sense of adventure, decided to venture into new territory. Unaware of the dangers that lay ahead, he wandered away from the safety of his group. The landscape grew increasingly rugged, marked by rolling hills and hidden depressions. Undeterred, the young rhino cautiously navigated the unfamiliar terrain, his every step exploring the unknown. Suddenly, the ground beneath him collapsed, and with a loud cry, he plunged down a steep slope. The fall was long and harsh, leaving him bruised and disoriented. When the rhinoceros finally regained consciousness, he discovered he was trapped at the bottom of a deep pit. The sheer walls were too steep and towering for him to climb. He tried to leap his way out, but his massive frame made it impossible to reach the top. The rhinoceros let out loud, desperate trumpets, calling for help as his cries echoed across the savanna. Hearing the distressing sound, the herd quickly rushed toward the source. Soon, other rhinos gathered around the edge of the pit, anxiously looking down at their trapped companion. Despite their efforts to assist, the pit was too deep for them to reach him. The rhinos pushed each other, trying to descend, but it was all in vain. Their hooves slipped on the steep walls, finding no support. The trapped rhinoceros continued to cry out desperately, pleading for help. Hours passed, and the rhino was still stuck in the pit. His companions remained nearby, stubbornly trying to find a way to rescue him. They tried throwing branches and grass down, but it didn't help. The situation seemed hopeless. As evening fell, the air was filled with new sounds. The growls of lions echoed across the savanna. The predators had noticed the trapped rhinoceros and decided to take advantage of the situation. A pride of lions slowly approached the pit, preparing to attack. The rhinos standing around the pit sensed the approaching danger. They began shifting nervously, making anxious noises. The lions were getting closer, their eyes gleaming fiercely in anticipation of an easy meal. Fear gripped the rhino herd. The first lion appeared from the tall grass, baring its teeth. The lions surrounded the pit in a wide circle, forcing the rhinos to retreat one by one, unable to defend their companion. Helpless, the trapped rhinoceros watched in despair as the predators leaped into the pit and attacked. Just when it seemed all hope was lost, the ground began to shake, growing stronger with each moment. A massive cloud of dust appeared on the horizon as a herd of elephants approached, their thunderous footsteps shaking the earth. The herd's leader, a towering elephant with long tusks, stepped forward and let out a powerful trumpet that echoed across the savanna. The other elephants lined up behind him, forming a living wall between the lions and the pit with the rhinoceros. The lions hadn't expected such a turn of events. They began to retreat, not daring to attack such large opponents. The elephants slowly advanced, forcing the predators to move further and further away from the pit. Once the lions had been driven to a safe distance, the elephants turned their attention to the trapped rhinoceros. They gathered around the pit, carefully assessing the situation. The leader of the elephants lowered his trunk into the pit, trying to reach the rhinoceros. The rhinoceros was surprised and a bit frightened by the arrival of the elephants. He had never interacted with these giant animals so closely before. However, seeing their friendly behavior, he calmed down a little. The elephants began to work together, trying to rescue the rhinoceros. They used their trunks to throw branches and dirt into the pit, attempting to create a kind of ramp. The rhinoceros tried to climb this improvised ladder, but it was too unstable for his weight. Undeterred, the elephants continued their efforts. They tried different approaches, sometimes attempting to hook the rhino with their trunks, other times pushing him from below. But the pit was too deep and the rhino too heavy. Despite all their efforts, they couldn't pull him out. Meanwhile, the lions had not given up hope for an easy meal. They circled nearby, waiting for the right moment. The elephants were forced to split up. Some continued trying to rescue the rhinoceros, while others guarded the perimeter against predators. Night enveloped the savanna, but the elephants remained at their posts. They took turns resting, always leaving someone on watch. The rhinoceros in the pit was exhausted and wounded, but the presence of the elephants gave him some hope of salvation. With the first rays of the sun, the elephants resumed their rescue attempts. They tried new methods, using their weight and strength to widen the edges of the pit, but the soil was too hard, and progress was very slow. The hungry lions were still nearby but kept their distance, fearing the elephants' wrath. The rhinoceros was exhausted and weakened, and the elephants were worn out from their constant rescue attempts, so the hope of salvation was fading with every minute. Suddenly, a mysterious object appeared in the sky. It was a helicopter from the National Park Rangers. They had noticed the unusual gathering of animals and decided to investigate. Seeing the rhinoceros in the pit and the elephants trying to save him, the rangers were very surprised but decided to intervene. The helicopter landed nearby and several people got out. The elephants watched them cautiously but did not show any aggression. The rangers cautiously approached the pit, assessing the situation. One of the rangers radioed the base, requesting additional help and equipment. He explained the situation and stressed the urgency of the matter. A few hours later, a rescue team arrived with heavy machinery. An excavator began working, carefully widening one of the slopes of the pit. The elephants watched the process closely, occasionally making anxious sounds. The rhinoceros in the pit was frightened by the noise of the machine but was too weak to resist. The work continued for a little over an hour. The rangers created a gentle slope for the rhinoceros to climb out. When the slope was almost ready, a veterinarian descended into the pit to examine the animal. The rhinoceros was severely weakened and had several wounds from the lion's attack. The veterinarian treated the most serious injuries on the spot. Then, the team began the operation to free the unfortunate animal from the pit. Using a winch and soft straps, the rhinoceros was slowly lifted up the slope. The process was difficult and dangerous. Several times, the rhinoceros slid back, but the people did not give up. The elephants stood nearby as if ready to help at any moment. Finally, after several hours of tense work, the rhinoceros was on the surface. He was weak and disoriented but alive. The veterinarians immediately began a more thorough examination and treatment of the animal. The elephants seemed to celebrate the success of the operation. They made joyful sounds and waved their trunks. The rangers were astonished by the remarkable behavior of the elephants, who had selflessly attempted to rescue a member of another species. To aid the rhinoceros in his recovery, they administered several injections to boost his strength and combat potential infections. Additionally, he was provided with water and essential nutrients through a specialized feeding tube. Over time, the rhinoceros began to recover, showing steady signs of improvement. The rangers decided against transporting him to a rehabilitation center, opting instead to allow him to heal in his natural habitat under the watchful care of veterinarians. Within a few days, the rhinoceros regained enough strength to move independently. The rangers then guided him back to the area where his herd was grazing before returning to their base. The rhinoceros owed his survival to the herd of elephants, whose remarkable intelligence, compassion, and nobility exemplified a rare and extraordinary act of interspecies cooperation. What an incredible story! If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment below. See you in the next video.